Hello friends! We are coming at you late at night because once again we're getting to the time of year where our low tides happen, or I should say our lowest tides of the day happen at night. And we are doing a little bit of community science here today out at Austin Estuary. We are planting some mussels. Sorry, I should have done this before we put the lid on, but we have some blue mussels that are strung up in this gridded box, and the box is going to be placed way out there. And we've got Stina here tonight and our awesome volunteer John. Woohoo! And I'm Rachel. So what's our next step, Stina?
All right, so really we're kind of just waiting for the tide. Initially when we planned this video,
We spend a lot of time waiting for the tide here at Harbor Wild Watch.
we're ruled by the tide, but yeah, so the tide is about a foot higher than predicted, so we are about an hour later to our adventure tonight, but we're waiting for about the 0-foot tide to uncover so that we're putting this cage out, and that means all of the other community scientists around the sound are all putting this cage in about the same tidal height, and that will kind of correct, you know, that's
the control variable, yes.
So, Mike Behrens, professor at PLU, is out at
One of the kids at boat launches.
yeah, the boat launch, putting one out, and there are volunteers all over the sound doing this exact same thing, kind of tonight, through the 10th on this nice low tide swing. Being that it's earlier in that swing, we're actually, you know, getting to go out on the earlier end of things.
We're still in the PM side of the time.
People, you know, for those who are installing cages on the 10th, those are going to be some late night,
2 a.m. adventures. So we're choosing to go now. And look at, we've got, I mean, you can't really tell, but it's not raining, it's not windy, it is glassy calm out here on Gig Harbor Bay. And it is just like sometimes we get really, really lucky with the weather. Of course, we are pretty prepared for any weather. We've all got our waterproof pants on and outerwear, lots of rubbery boots so that we can go wading in a little bit if necessary. So,
carry it together.
oh, you guys working smarter, not harder? I like it. So this is all done.
This is some teamwork, dreamwork, baby.
Yeah, you guys are looking good. All right, Sina, you know where we're going, so lead the way. And these mussels that we're putting out here are filter feeders. And what that means is they are going to take in water from the bay, filter out any edible bits of plankton, but they also take in contaminants. And then those are things that we can sort and quantify in a laboratory down the line. So these animals are going to spend the next maybe 3 or 4 months out at sea around the 0-foot tide height, which means they'll be equally covered by water and exposed to air. And that's a normal habitat for mussels. I'm guessing if we look over here on this bulkhead, we might see some more animals that are regularly exposed by the tide. Check it out. We've got a little periwinkle here out and about. Several of them, checkered periwinkles. We've got some barnacles. And I'm guessing a little bit lower, we'll get into the zone where we can see some mussels. But these,
So we do a lot of beach monitoring.
hold on, say it nice and loud, Sina.
So this is one of our beach monitoring sites, and there's not a ton of life in muddy habitat.
It's hard sediment, or soft sediment, which is hard for a lot of these animals that settle out as larvae to survive. So it is a difficult place. We don't see a ton of biodiversity. This area does not get a ton of current or waves even. Oh, it's nice and slurpy on my boots here.
Yeah.
Very squishy and squelchy mud.
This spot also has a nice,
There is
like a gravel bar we're gonna kind of pop off.
Oh, thank goodness for that, because I've seen people sink up to their hips in this mud out here. We've rescued more than a few community scientists who've come out with us to survey what life is here. But don't let this somewhat barren looking ground fool you. There is quite a bit of life just under the surface. The benthic organisms that are going to be down beneath, living down in the muck. Maybe not as much as other places, but still lots of life to be had. And then of course we can see evidence of life in the area. We've got different clam shells, bent nose clams, looks like some macomas, butter clams. That was not a butter clam, that was I think a macoma. Little neck clams. But these shells are evidence that they're here. Oh, I'm feeling the pull on my boots. Ooh, so this stretch of the harbor here is right in between two freshwater sources. Off to the left, there is Crescent Creek, and off to my right is Donkey Creek, and both of them are pulling in fresh water from the surrounding watershed and creating this estuarine habitat here. The mouth of the harbor is pretty small, way off in the distance there. It's very narrow, so it's a great place for boats because they are sheltered from large waves and heavy winds in this little kind of protected bay. Oh, definitely some signs of salmon time. We've got the leaves falling.
I know we'll be doing some salmon tours, but it sounds like John over here is also doing salmon tours.
There are so many shrimp, you guys. I don't know if you can see, but there's about 50 little shrimp. Can you see them zooming? Go ahead and post in the comments if you can see them. Their eyes are a bit reflective, and they're just kind of zooming all over the place. That's kind of fun to see. I would not expect there to be lots and lots of shrimp, but wow, there are lots of them. Also seeing some worm activity.
Alright, we're going to do some tidal estimating.
Okay.
So in 1 minute, the tide is going to be at 0.5.
Okay.
And we want to install our cage at 0. So I'm going to look at my boot and account for mud sinkage and try and estimate, okay, how much is 6 inches? What's half a foot? And that's what we'll go ahead and start installing.
So, Sina, can I help you with a little bit of science?
Yeah.
You are wearing 15-inch tall extra tufts.
Boom.
So subtract 3 inches from that, and you have...
And that's a foot. And
that's a foot. So then half of...
2.
So roughly, you know, mid the skinny part of your boot is
Perfect.
about 6 inches or so.
Okay, so we're going to unthread this nice rebar from our thing.
So in order not to lose this cage, we anchor it down pretty well. We have this tall, big, long anchor that Sina's going to screw into the ground at the right spot. And then we will use these rebar and like the world's biggest zip ties.
Gosh, they're incredible.
They're huge. Huge zip ties to anchor them all in place. And then to aid in the retrieval of this back in February when our little mussels have done several months worth of eating and filtering this water, there's that bright, nice reflective tag, which is going to help us to be able to find it once again. So there she goes. That looks like the right spot. I just can't believe the weather that we've gotten for this activity. This is fantastic. I was out earlier today. I had to be outside for a couple hours, and oh man, I felt like a salmon Like I needed to grow some gills and fins so that I could get around, because man, it was just coming down in buckets. So Stina's screwing that anchor down into the mud. What's our next step, Stina? Okay. We'll carry the things with handles. How's that?
Okay.
You want to grab all those zip ties all at once so we don't lose them? Oh, we lost one already. Zip tie down.
Root stuck. Can't get to it.
That's the trouble. You stay in place for too long, you start to sink. All right. Don't lose your anchor now. It's black. So we can walk out a little bit so you can see the whole process. Oh, this gravel is very nice. You can definitely feel a change in the substrate beneath your feet. All right, so we've got our reflector side up. That's
home.
it's where you're gonna live, little mussels. Do your job. Do your best. Do a good job.
The vacation is over. It's time to work.
I mean, they're just gonna be gorging themselves on anything that's in this water, so I don't think they're too worried about it.
Feel one of those zip ties on that nice little.
Oh, on that through that spot?
Yep. Oh, the big long ones?
Yep. We can double check our directions.
Ah, yes. I think we should be good.
This is a new addition to these cages.
Yeah, we've
Very
got this
excited about
little
Is this,
extra
through one?
That's what I'm
piece.
thinking. But I think so. These actually are gonna go like diagonally. We're gonna make sure we're not stabbing our muscles.
You
our
don't
muscle
stab the
bags.
little babies.
Unless they don't actually fit.
I don't think they...
Yeah, no they do.
Let's watch Stina struggle. Would you like your mallet?
I can get through the.
Yeah, you can get through both. All right. Now, I realize this is not the most exciting video that Harbor Wild Watch has ever done, but it is exciting when you think about what type of community science we are able to do with this. So these mussels are going to collect plankton and anything else that's in our waters. So they're going to be going after, you know, maybe some microplastics, some PCBs, some heavy metals, that sort of thing. Now your gravel is not so fun. It's easy to walk on, but not so easy for sinking. All right, I say break out the mallet. See how far you get. Oh yeah, Stina's gotta take some very scientific coordinates by using her phone, which takes a GPS location on each photo. It's very important that we know precisely where we're putting this. It is just a beautiful night here. I'm hopeful that all the rest of our nighttime beach walks that we have planned for the coming months will be just as enjoyable. It's about 46 degrees Fahrenheit and there is barely any wind and no rain. In fact, I see stars overhead. You know, my camera can't pick those up, but you'll just have to believe me. The lightness in the distance that you see is cloud cover. So you can see our sky is mostly open, which is great. So once they get those anchors mostly all the way in to keep it from wiggling around too much, then we use the giant, strongest zip ties in the world. Aww, we got extras.
You went straight? So I was wondering if I'm going to figure out straight through the side of that. Straight down.
Well, this will definitely just pop that around it through. But give that a mallet.
Very precise goings on. Ooh, something's splashing over there. Maybe there's a harbor seal or somebody over there. Let's see what other kinds of creatures we can find while they are busy hammering. Lots of evidence of animals in the tiny like holes and divots. So like right there you can see the flow from a burrowed clam that's actually bringing out water that is saltier than the water around it, because we've taken on quite a bit of fresh water from the creeks as the tide is withdrawing. It'll come back in and start to kind of fill back in, and then we'll get some mixing. These mounds here are evidence of other animals, most likely lugworms. These worms that have kind of a U-shaped burrow, and they kind of make a pile of sand on one side. Man, I get really excited and then I go, oh, it's a leaf. Drives me crazy. Drives me crazy.
Rachel's beautiful fingernails, my Halloween nails are quite bad. Rachel's
Just
got
did
it going
them
on.
today. You know, gotta be camera ready, Sina. What were you thinking?
I don't know. I almost didn't bring a headlamp. I was like, oh. Yeah, winter monitoring.
Is at night.
The lights.
You know, we're mostly prepared. We got a lot of grace in this endeavor.
These and couldn't find any of them. Only got 5.
It's gonna be the most secured mussel cage ever. Sina is employing a very cool technique of crimping the zip tie with her mouth.
Zip tie, so you can
fish it through, and then it pops right back out. Oh, that's so clever when it works. So for all of you that are watching, if you want to post in the comments where you're watching from, we love to know that information.
I also want to know, have you ever used a bigger zip tie than this zip tie? Like,
this is like a 4-foot long zip tie.
It is.
It just keeps zipping and zipping and zipping. just don't herk on it too much at the very end. John's basket weaving over here. Not quite underwater basket weaving.
John, I have
but
pliers.
close.
Yeah, but I had leftover stuff.
Yeah, he just wound it all up. I have pliers.
Oh, good. I was like, oh no.
We lost them in the muck. No, here we go.
Like
Give it the old snips. Oh, there's a quack in the distance. Yeah.
We did one around the earth anchor already.
Yep. And just like that.
We got a part of the boat.
That's our earth anchors.
It's like working on a car.
And then, okay, this,
Wait, the geese are honking. They're mad. And then what?
I don't know if you've already talked about this.
I did. This is a very important
It's
part
so
of the
genius
process.
of the
Wildlife.
team to provide this extra little piece, which you're like, really, that doesn't seem that important. But when we come out here in February,
And we're
it's raining
looking
sideways,
around
we're
and
like,
going,
oh my gosh,
where
where's this
did we
thing?
leave that thing?
That's our little beacon of hope.
Yeah, there it is.
Glory.
Please be there when we come back in
But
February.
We're also triangulating.
We're
from
also,
person
yes,
to
we know right where we are, which is great. All right, friends. Well, thanks for tuning in with us. Wish these little mussels well, and we'll be bringing you some more community science opportunities for some digital programming coming up soon. Hopefully we'll have just as